They're all pretty cool.
Yeah.
We are getting ready for Game 4 between Team Octalysis and Tempo Storm. And that'll take place on Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Ooh.
Chosen by Tempo.
Yeah, this is a turning of the tide. This has always been an Octalysis favorite for as long as we can remember, the core of this, but they have not had the success they used to have on this battleground.
Why is that?
Again, I think that sometimes it comes down to trying to do too much. This is, however, another Chromie battleground. We saw first ban Chromie on the last map, responded to with a Sergeant Hammer ban in the second ban phase. But this is another Chromie battleground that if you do want to play it, this would be the place to make it happen. Alternatively, on the other side, something that we have seen from Tempo in the past, they love second pick. They love battleground pick and second pick. This has been their most success. Task Tracer is definitely a thing that Fan and team, on all of Fan's team, he loves to run Tracer on this battleground. If you can get the Tassadar pairing with it, does give you the wave clear that you lack with the Tracer.
Well, I don't know if it'll make it through bans because Octalysis themselves ran Task Tracer on this map versus LFM last week. And though the initial Varian at 4 picking Taunt worked out to 1 Tracer kill, after that Droided showed that he is more than capable with that hero. Also, not only the Chromie for Prismaticism, but this is where we saw his Gul'dan last week, and he had a very impactful Gul'dan. I don't know if we had a single Horrify off its mark.
I think a lot of heroes to consider, and it's a matter of, with Octalysis, because they get first pick, they're going to get 2 more before the second ban phase, and if you're afraid of one of those heroes being banned out, it gives you an opportunity to pick that up before the second ban. What they don't see is how much you actually dance.
I know.
Like, she actually just dances
Pretty much
back here.
Start of every draft.
Camera's off, music's on.
Here we go. And there she goes.
Yeah, I love this ban. I mean, you can't first pick Tracer for fear of one of those heroes being picked against you. There's going to be the Chromie ban. So you have to ban it, I think, if you're Octalysis. I really like that.
First pick for Octalysis last game. They chose Genji. This game, hit the old man.
That's got to be a Malfa in this rotation then, unless you've got a couple other tricks up your sleeve.
It's June.
It is June.
He is more than willing to flex that out a bit. And if Tempo Storm want to go the Hero's Hearth route of getting Johanna Blaze, it's a whole lot of wave clear to have here on Tomb.
It's a really good battleground for it. We've also seen a little bit of resurgence from Hanzo as of late. Phoenix, of course, very strong on this. Gives you that team fight potential. There's the Johanna, and they're going to pick the Malfurion. Not willing to forego the Malfurion, but definitely locking in one of the better tanks for wave clear, if not the best main tank for wave clear.
I think that's a respectable choice, change-up, given that Malfurion is available a lot of times. When you end up with that Johanna Blaze, it's either you've banned the Malfurion yourself, or your opponents have taken away in the first pick spot. So here they make that adjustment. Glaurung can play a variety of solo laners, and that also allows them to react appropriately to whatever Octalysis want in that solo lane.
So you mentioned the Blaze. Blaze obviously does have high priority. Sonya starting to take a step back a little bit as it's been more control-oriented. Yrel, I think, is another hero that we have to consider in the earlier part of this. And if you're Octalysis and you say, I've got my choice between Blaze or Yrel, then you can conceivably wait till after that second ban. It could be maybe get Gul'dan. Gul'dan does use that life tap to get mana back, and Deckard gives you life pretty easily, but as much as life giveth, Jaina says life taketh. So the Jaina pickup instead. I like this pick a lot.
Yeah, Jaina Johanna is pretty scary in terms of wave clear. So not only do they get Jaina here, they make sure that they're trying to keep up with Tempo Storm and the rotations, the wave clear. They get that Yrel solo lane, which we saw Goku use on Volskaya, and it worked out really well.
Yrel just, again, she doesn't lose the lane, she doesn't win the lane, but she holds the lane so well. She's one of the more ungankable heroes. Not the most ungankable, but definitely very, very tanky in those situations. So Tempo Storm, we see the Jaina, we see the Yrel, and we don't have any damage yet on the side of Tempo Storm. So do you want to target something that can counter what you've got? Again, Phoenix still being available, I think, is definitely something that Octalysis will have to consider banning themselves, but we also have Genji still available.
I know, it's weird. I thought we would maybe see Octalysis pick him, but Jaina and Johanna, Hero's Hearth has been putting on a clinic with that Condemn into Blessed Shield into Ring of Frost, and between that and the wave clear possibilities of those two, I understand Octalysis wanting to take that away. Plus, then they can still ban something else. Tempo Storm, though, with a Garrosh ban, there hasn't been a whole lot of Garrosh in NA.
He's taken a significant fall since team started to finally learn how to play him, and I think it was just really brought to light at the mid-season brawl. Johanna's actually been one of the better solutions towards that, so still willing to say, look, we don't want to deal with that. We don't want to deal with that type of control. I mean, you get tossed back, you get hit with a big hammer from Urel. You're really displaced. You get tossed into a root from Deckard. Nobody wants to be stuck behind that.
We just saw Tempo Storm play a very siege-heavy composition with the Greymane. I wonder if, not necessarily Greymane here, but a similar style composition where they want to siege. Garrosh is very good anti-siege. So is Chromie. Chromie's already been banned. You take out Garrosh, you don't have to worry as much about the flips over, except maybe if Octalysis picks a Diablo, which is still a possibility.
Phoenix again is here. Again, Tassadar, this is one of the maps where, yes, it helps if he enables another hero. Phoenix is one of those heroes, but it's also a hero that does well, in particular just because he has the wave clear. Post level 16 does quite a bit with the Psionic Echo. Again, we're just trying to figure out where Tempo Storm's mindset is, because we've seen 3 very different drafts from him. It seems like a more standard draft definitely worked for them recently. But will Greymane be an option again here as they look to lock in some damage?
That's a scary comp to play it against. We'll see. Because with both Fan and Ven showing they can play Maiev, this doesn't guarantee anything for that last pick. And now Blaze will help out a lot with the team fights and the slows, the crowd control that Octalysis have shown so far.
That is a very scary prospect of this dive composition. Blaze particularly rotating up from one of the bottom lanes, coming in with a flank, Maiev coming in and getting the tether, but you have to have significant damage behind that to really make this worth it. Again, the most success that we've seen with Maiev has been paired with another melee assassin like Thrall, who would have done okay in the solo lane here, but this is more tankiness than it is damage. And so they've got to come in with something behind this that can just really bring it.
This is textbook Tempo Storm, except they put Jaina with it.
Yes, that's the thing. That's the pop.
That's your damage. When they didn't have it, they played Hanzo with it. You have Dragon's Arrow for further lockdown, but the kills weren't always there. Now the disruption plays a factor because you have Junkrat, which we've seen Prismaticism play once before already. The only player in A picking it, and the Stitches again.
Yeah, so the Junkrat gives you very safe positioning. It also gives you the potential to rotate. It gives you wave clear. So you have significant wave clear in Jaina, Junkrat, and then Urel obviously can hold Stitches depending on what build he wants to go. It's going to be the Genji. So wave clear is severely lacking outside of Johanna on the side of Tempo. This is not exactly the last pick I anticipated, but wow. If this gets to the late game and you don't have wave clear, the web weavers and everything else that you'll potentially be pushing with, I mean, good luck, because that's difficult.
Yeah, Maiev received some changes recently that were supposed to help somewhat with wave clear. The spirit changes.
The E-build, yeah.
She has Blade Dance at 4. Dragon Blade. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's it. This is so team fight focused. They can try to do things like with Johanna and Blaze making rotations out and in, and then I expect some sort of deviation in lanes. Maybe they also get some picks, because clearly they have some team fighting heroes, but that I was not expecting that Genji.
One of the things I want to see most from Octalysis is their early game rotations, is you have the wave clear advantage. Junkrat does not have to be in the solo because you have Urel down there. Force the Junkrat to rotate bottom. Use that Jaina to maybe flex between some of the top 2 lanes, and then force Tempo Storm, because it's hard to engage when your structures are being sieged upon because you have no wave clear. So I really want to see Octalysis maybe forego some of the early game team fights and just look to control the rotations. Johanna's going to have a tough time until she gets level 4 with that Sins exposed. And Tempo Storm, they are going to be looking for kills from the outset of this game.
They are, because that's what their composition calls for. Nash's Memento might help with that too. The wave clear problem. But the Genji. I've seen Tempo Storm go into composition like this before. I think I remember a Maiev Medivh, almost like a counter drafting style that just ends up with a big plot hole in the draft. But Tempo Storm also might see something that we do not in this game. And like you said, this is Tempo Storm's map.
Yeah, this is some early game rotations. Again, using that Jaina to rotate between these lanes. They don't have to push out. This is one of those things where it's like, I could go out, look just missing on the fan. But one of the things I think this composition can do is to rotate to that bottom lane. Blaze, obviously, again, Urel's not winning that lane, but if you want to force out rotations, you have so much wave clear. It's just in abundance. It just really feels like Octalysis can really control this lane. There's that spirit that was used to help with wave clear. So the condemn into the punish into the potential damage there from the Maiev does help.
Van right in the faces of Octalysis, which is awesome. And the threat alone of Tempo Storm's team fight and their kill potential is seemingly enough that it gives them a little bit of time to keep these lanes pushed. Octalysis are keen to just allow the lanes to push into them and then deal with them respectfully, where they won't possibly end up being under fire for Tempo Storm.
They ended up rotating Maiev down into the bot lane, which is something Tempo Storm is now going to take advantage of, and this is a very good opportunity for them to really control this. Glaurung, he's going to walk through the oil, Slow's going to be there. But by disrupting the rotations and taking that camp, it now takes away that rotational advantage that Octalysis seemingly would have with this much wave clear. Johanna now hitting level 4 will make that wave clear even easier here shortly. So Tempo Storm making a lot of really good early game calls.
Octalysis are going to attempt to regain the betterment of the lanes. Keeping Prismaticism in the top lane and then having Urel in the bottom lets that Stitches, Deckard, Kayn, Jaina rotation happen to wherever it's needed, but Jaina went to the Bruiser, so though that hook went out, not really any follow-up damage or even crowd control behind that. It's just about the threat.
Both teams prioritizing the night camps, obviously trying to get some early structure damage in, trying to get some control. Fan putting a little bit of damage out, Cattle coming in, Sin's exposed, making that a little bit easier. There's going to be a little bit of tower damage, nothing significant though.
What this does do, though, is Tempo Storm is sitting on 45 gems, and this gives them some time to force the positioning of Octalysis so that they can get those gems turned in. Octalysis are going to clear this out pretty quickly and start to have the Bruiser push in their favor. They need to make sure they're starting to keep an eye over these turn-in points, because Tempo Storm, ideally, the faster that they can start taking down some of these structures, the more they make sure that they are keeping up with Team Octalysis, because when you have that lack of wave clear, you want to get that earlier web weaver push while the lanes are still quite even.
Speaking of push, Octalysis elected not to give any amount of backing to that night camp, and that surprises me a little bit. I mean, obviously you don't want to be engaged on behind, and I think that's obviously the biggest fear, but the fact that they didn't even threaten the initial push is a bit surprising, because they're not getting much out of it. They need to get a turn in. Tempo has been doing a good job getting their turn-ins. Cattle looks like he's going to be able to complete his. Ooh, Goku with the interrupt at the last moment. But again, Octalysis, it's always dangerous. It's always a risk when you sit on quite a few gems and you don't get any turned in. You're just literally 49 in your pocket.
Fan put a tether on Goku and he just walked along with it and then was like, oh, this puts me in a good position to interrupt again. So they've stopped Tempo Storm a little bit longer from getting this turn in, but they haven't, as you said, put any of their own gems into the clutches of the Spider Queen. But again, I still feel like Tempo Storm ideally get this first turn in while the lanes are still somewhat in their favor, and especially having a player advantage now for 15 seconds.
Goku continuing to interrupt. Johanna, I believe, on the top is also trying to get the interrupt, so all eyes on them to try and get this turned in. They just need 8. Looks like they've finally done it. Again, with a Junkrat, now that he will be spawning, and a Jaina does make it a little bit easier to clear. See how much Tempo can get done here.
Yeah, and the mine is something to keep in mind. So Tempo Storm, wherever they want to siege, try to break down the gate or the small wall if they know that Prismaticism is there, because the mine can throw someone over the wall into the range of the fort, and losing someone in this web weaver push is not what Tempo Storm want. They want to be getting the kills. They nearly got one.
Yeah, we saw Draded sitting pretty low, but the heal's coming out from Buds. Now got Draded back to full health. Tether gonna bring Stitches in. Nice hook follow up there, but Roots in return. Blizzard going down onto Cattle. That's one of those things for Draded. The kill potential's not there. It does help your quest, but now this Web Weaver is still pushing in. It did not take that Blizzard damage. And now that compromises the integrity of this sport because it's starting to take more and more damage. Starts to set this up towards the later game. It's going to be healed up. All that damage, Goku trying to isolate Glaurung. He's going to be fine.
I will say, whether it's better positioning for Tempo Storm or Octalysis having a harder time of it, hooks are not hitting the same way that they were on Volskaya. Later on that may change, especially if we see the Gorge. That'll definitely be something that Octalysis will want to make sure that they're getting done so they can get someone in position for the Gorge. Tempo Storm gets enough of a lead that they're almost at heroic abilities now, purely off of the structural damage that they got and the one kill earlier. And with Octalysis not having any of those gems turned in, they weren't close enough in a way that they could hurry and try to get those gems turned in for Web Weaver.
Just one of those things when you're around a Junkrat and he's just constantly chuckling, cackling. It's much better when you're near a Malfurion.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah. Almost enough for another turn in here. Just a few gems short is going to be Tempo. See if they can get the back-to-back turn in. They almost took down mid-fort, opened up the top lane. And if they get the turn in here, they won't have the heroic advantage, but they will have the Siege Giants here on the bottom to essentially push through this bot lane. So a good opportunity if Tempo does get the turn in. It doesn't look like Octalysis is going to make their way out onto the battleground to even contest, and they're going to take their chances simply defending.
Octalysis wants to take these Giants down quickly if they can. Ven's going to come in for some harassment to try to protect those. Every bit of push that Tempo Storm can get done extra is really nice, which is why we see them trying to protect these Giants. But with the Righteous Hammer, Goku knocks one into range and they'll take them down. Web Weaver starting to come in. The lanes are pushed well. That mid fort is about halfway down, but Bruiser should slow that down.
Quite a bit, and Octalysis is doing a lot of things correct here. There's going to be, ooh, the hook gorge attempt was there. A nice vault by Fan to prevent any type of follow-up there, but see if Justine, another 10 seconds or so out from now, will have another opportunity at a hook.
And we have seen this Gorge stay a while and listen combo work to great success for teams because you have so much zoning from the stay a while behind the Stitches and then a lot of damage. So we heard the Rip Tire go out. A lot of damage from the back line of Octalysis.
Yeah, fort should finally fall, as will the bottom fort. Yrel finally starting to make her way up. The bottom Web Weaver still barely anything left on it. So getting 2 forts out is good. It looks like we're going to have a little bit of attention turned towards the top lane by Genji, trying to soak up 13 before Octalysis can get a turn in. And if Tempo gets 13, Octalysis, again, they're going to be struggling for opportunities to get control. It's just surprising to me they've only turned in 10 gems this whole time, but the Genji, Maiev, Johanna, poke potential, and Blaze, it is very difficult because this is going to be contended very well.
Oh my, this is exactly where Tempo Storm want to be. Justing gorgeous Blaze, but he is by no means out of here. Warden's Cage set up with the Blessed Shield. Twilight Dream follow up. Jaina goes down. Prismaticism is struck down by Vin's Genji, and Bud should be the next to fall. He is just one Deckard Cain, and you can't make it out from the Genji and Maiev there. A lot of kills, not a lot of gems lost though.
Ooh, that was interrupted.
Unless Justing or Goku go down, but these are the majority gem holders.
Yeah, that is the only saving grace from that, is we'll see a boss rotation up, and this is one of the things that when you have a Johanna and or a Maiev, you can use one to keep an eye on that bottom turn-in if they elect to, but I think they realize that it's a good opportunity. Yrel showing bottom, Stitch is showing mid. They know that they have the situational control. They don't have to defend that bot lane. Johanna starting to make her way down.
It was a good gorge on Blaze so that there wasn't as much follow-up crowd control, but in that choke, those hallways, Blessed Shield, and then Warden's Cage are going to get a lot. Not to mention that Twilight Dream was money from June. Boss captured. Octalysis get Web Weavers, but this is purely trying to hold their stance in this game.
Yeah, this is one of those opportunities where I think that this is where you have to say, look, we're not going to get a lot out of this, but what it will get them is 13 at the end of this. It gives them a little bit of protection for a little bit, and then it gives them an opportunity to get map control, a little bit of real estate. Because right now, if you look at the lanes, it's pushed out about 3/4 of the way, about 60% of the way towards Team Octalysis. By the end of this, it should be around the halfway mark to allow them to at least get back onto the map without the threat of being constantly ganked. The problem is Tempo Storm, already 15, working their way towards 16.
Yeah, the opportunities have not been often for Octalysis to get a fair fight versus Tempo Storm. We saw one of them, but the location, not as ideal. This should be better. This is what they want to get, but that Blessed Shield, the Warden's Cage, it doesn't matter if Glaurung's inside the belly of the beast. Tempo Storm brings the fight to the rest of Octalysis when they were separated, and they're gonna get a double kill. This, if Goku goes down, that's 54 gems, J-How.
That is a massive oversight there to just push in. They got the Gorge, but they were split, and the instant response by Caterpillar. I mean, we're looking at 13 total gems, 15 and counting for Octalysis now. It is a long road to recovery. We've got Tempo Storm, they're rounding 16. They're gonna have Knights here, and they're gonna have a turn in. This could really start to get out of control for Octalysis.
Yeah, for Octalysis, with how much they lost early in this game, they needed to combo turn-ins in a row and then start to make a comeback that way. Losing all of their gems here, not having anything except the measly 17 for a second turn-in. Tempo Storm have enough with 16 to have Web Weavers. They have a double camp. This is gonna be tough. There's no way around that.
I mean, this is potentially threatening keeps. If things go terribly wrong, it could be potentially threatening game. And that's how scary this position is Tempo Storm. They're gonna clear up the Knights long before tempos go down, as they're now starting to push in. Siege Giant, as you said, in the bottom, Knights here in the middle, and Web Weavers all landing right about now.
Goku goes over the wall. Riptire's thinking about it too. Just blows up to do some damage to the Web Weaver. This is the main point of contention for Tempo Storm, and Octalysis are defending it admirably. Now, Junkrat, the minute he threw out that Riptire, he was already heading in. That's something to take out. But Tempo sees the rotation up toward the top. They start to go heading in for the bottom lane, just clearing out all the keep towers, looking for more if they can get it. If not, they know that it's their game to lose.
Well, Siege Giant's still behind this. Tempo Storm sieging up, but the defense from Octalysis has been fantastic. This is just working out so well. The display of Junkrat and Jaina in this composition is keeping so much at bay. This is the wave clear side. For Tempo, it's not a huge loss. They're still sitting on 32 gems, but you gotta think they expected maybe a bit more out of this push. They're not getting it. Team Octalysis, though, still quite a ways from 16. They're still holding strong for now.
They are, and you know, I thought, well, Tempo Storm have 16 so far ahead of Octalysis. Maybe they can just sit and poke down a keep somewhere, but then I realized, with what?
Yeah. That's the wave clear. The wave clear and sieging potential is very difficult. Shingun obviously picked up, gives a little bit of poke, but for the most part, it is all about defense. And Tempo, they are a team fighting team. Octalysis have had struggles in the team fighting department, as it's 6 kills to 0 in favor of Tempo, who continues to get these small amount of turn-ins, making sure that they don't risk their turn-ins. And Octalysis, unfortunately, just dealt with so much defense, so much poke on the side of Tempo Storm. The early game struggles.
Well, 16's almost here for Octalysis. That gives a lot more damage to Junkrat and potentially for Jaina, but more lockdown she can give if this is going to be a fishing hook and totally just we're relying on hooks to turn this game around kind of composition. No keeps down, it's not dire, but with the build that we see from Justin, I'm expecting that, and there it is.
Even Decker trying to get in on the damage action. There's going to be a hook. Iron Skin used. No Gorge available when you're unstoppable.
Yeah, these hooks have been not as easily come by for justing this game. They have just enough gems to turn in.
Question is, can they get them? That's the hardest part, is that, again, Genji, Johanna, Maev, Blaze, any number of that can interrupt this. Goku on Yrel, one of the best zoners. The problem is, it's also holding on to a large number of those gems. Prismat zoned just enough to allow Prismat. However, Tempo Storm's like, we gotta turn in of our own. We're good.
All right, Tempo Storm had a turn in when they had 16 and did not get keeps. So now this is everything for Tempo. The plus side is they'll have 20, and we should have a boss up or about up. But the negative side is they still don't have the kind of wave clear you'd be hoping for, and that makes the defense for Octalysis a bit easier. But with a lot of keep downs, and a lot of keep towers down, and a lot of lanes, this should net Tempo Storm a keep. That is what they are looking for.
One keep minimum at this point. Blizzard goes down, Riptire's gonna come out, give them a little bit of damage, but not enough to take down the siege shots, not enough to keep here. 20 will be here at the tail end of this. It's actually off of that. See if they try and make a play happen. If they can get a pick, they can end. But Yrel and Junkrat, as you can see on the minimap, have done an amazing job keeping that nice ice block by June, because that would have been a hook gorge, and that's probably not a hero that's making it out alive. Heads up play by him, but one keep is all we got, and it looks like Tempo, they're going to rotate up towards that boss. They're going to try and take keep number 2 potentially game, but man, Tempo is struggling in the sieging department, and this time it looks like Team Octalysis again, when the boss is going to be picked up, will manage another turn-in.
This is a Hail Mary to get to 20, get all of those gems turned in, deal with the boss, use the web weavers to deal with the other lanes, especially bot, where there's going to be catapults. Hang in for the boss, and then after the fact, you've set the game back. But again, because we saw Goku lose the whole bank of Octalysis earlier when he was picked, there's no gems for Octalysis behind this either. We're going to extreme late game. Tempo Storm can't make something happen for this.
The delay on capturing that night camp means this boss should 100% guaranteed get this keep. It's just a matter of catapults cancel out bot lane. We're going to see Glaurung forced to use the bunker. He's staying in, but the stun's going to go in. Johanna and team holding position. They might be trying to siege up on the core. Again, they don't have the amount of damage. That might be our first stay a while and listen. We've seen, but the Warden's Cage is back there. Fan falls.
Twilight Dream wrecked Octalysis, and the follow-up from that X-Strike 2. It's a 1-for-1 though. Fan fell to stay a while, was trying to get the zone. June pulled in, Goku adjusting. Tag team take down June, but it doesn't matter. Tempo Storm get on the core, and it took so long to get the bruisers, to get those kills, that Tempo Storm is able to take out the core. We're going to game 5.
History repeating itself again. Tempo Storm and Octalysis this year have not gone to game number 5, and it's been split 3-2 both ways, and we're going to find out who's willing to break that now. Is Octalysis. It's like a full head of steam, and something happened, like, because that steam is run out.
There is a lot to be said for momentum in a reverse sweep.
Yeah.
And especially for Vin. This has to be feeling so good, because this was an important match, albeit though I think one that Tempo Storm would have been okay with losing and will be okay with losing, given that they're still trying to ramp up, they're still trying to figure out who their replacement player for good is going to be. But even still, that you guys have been able to just maintain that mentality and make it to this, to game 5, is impressive. Impressive for Tempo Storm.
The Stitches pick, again, it's when you have Stitches on Tomb of the Spider Queen, it's a matter of hook, hook, hook if you don't land them. The same for Volskaya. Volskaya, they were hitting here. You could see there were a couple of hook opportunities. The ice block by June didn't happen. The ice block onto Johanna, Iron Skin. The ice block onto Maev, Vault out. And those opportunities, they do not come often. When you land them and you don't have the follow-up, it's hard. And we saw the one time that they did get the hook gorge, they were split. They got counter-engaged upon. Nice setup by Caterpillar, nice recognition. And Tempo countered a lot of what they did. If that Stitches pick is anything else, so your frontline control is normally reserves back, try to get the hook in. And then once you find yourself down, how do you walk forward? How do you walk forward with that style of tank? And that's always been the bane of Stitch's compositions, is if you get behind, how do you aggressively move forward? And if you're not, and you're not hitting your hooks or you're not getting those hook gorges, Where's your engagement come from?
I think that's the difference of the map too, though, because Volskaya, you're guaranteed to get some golden opportunities for hooks, but Tomb of the Spider Queen is a lot more about those rotations between lanes. And the one person who was hit quite a lot by hooks probably also shored up a lot of that play, but was not around nearly as much because he was doing his job of solo laning. And with that, Tempo Storm ties up the series. We're going to a Game 5. We're heading to a break first, but don't go anywhere. Game 5 right after this.